Yeah, welcome to Not Dead Yet Java on Desktop. This is not about Kirk. We start. So this is not about what's the better technology, JavaScript or Java or whatever, but this is just to remind people that Java is still there, and it makes sometimes sense to use it. So let's take a short look. First of all, my name is Gerrit Grunwald. I'm working for Karakun Engineering. Oh no, it's just Karakun, right? Not engineering. Karakun in Switzerland. We founded the company last year. That's the reason for the confusion with the name. And I'm mainly doing front-end design. So basically, most of the time JavaFX stuff, but I also did web and also do Swift and did Android. So I tried everything. But yeah, right now, JavaFX still has the best API for me. It makes me most productive. So that's the reason why I'm using it. Let's take a step back to the year 2012. And you might remember that year because there was the Chromebook invented, and it was like, the desktop is dead. That is what I took from that year. And so the future of applications, what they said, is the web. I mean, now 7 years later, yes, many applications running on the web, that's true. But according to that, my application folder on my MacBook should look like this, right? Because it's the web. So I just need browsers, that's all I need. Even that screenshot is not correct because we see the Finder, which is a native application. But yeah, in fact, my application folder looks like that. So it's a lot of apps, and these are not web apps. Most of them are not. There might be 1 or 2 Electron apps, which I don't count as a web app. But OK, so how is that? How did it come? Seems the desktop is not dead, right? So it seems it's not everything is running on the web. And that means there must be a reason for this. And the question is, what about Java in this content? Well, first of all, let's take a short review about what is available still. Abstract Window Toolkit, AWT. The first try to get something done. From 1995, it's a cross-platform toolkit. It's platform independent. It bounds to native controls, and it interfaces with native controls. So that was the idea. It works still, but who used it? Someone here in the audience? Some, yes, and it, yeah. It's okay, but yeah. SWT, Standard Window Toolkit. This was based on, as far as my research is correct, on Smalltalk from 1993 from IBM. This is cross-platform. It's, again, platform-dependent. It's a wrapper around native controls. And yeah, I just skip it fastly because, yeah, I'm not a big fan of SWT. But it's still around. Everybody who uses Eclipse, he uses SWT. Then we have Java Swing, which is the official successor to AWT. And it's around since Java 1.2, 1998. It's a cross-platform toolkit. It's platform independent. It was the first one of those in the Java world, really. And it introduced look and feels. And it emulates the appearance of native controls. Means this is not really bound to native controls anymore, but it emulates it, which was a great approach. And then we had JavaFX Script. Some of the guys here in the room know that. And that was the intended successor to Swing, but it failed. It's there since Java 1.6, 2008. It's cross-platform, platform independent, but it had no Java syntax. It was a scripting language. And it was invented or based on F3, form follows function, from Chris Oliver. And the story that I heard was that Sun was looking for something to replace Swing, and then they jumped on that train and transformed F3 into JavaFX Script. And Chris Oliver said that it was never intended to be like it ended, right? And then finally, we got JavaFX, which is the successor to Swing, the official one. And this is since Java 7. It was never part of the JDK. It was just delivered with the JDK. And in 2011 it came. And it's cross-platform, again, platform independent. It's a more or less port from JavaFX Script to Java. So I know people that worked at Oracle at that time, and they really just ported the whole JavaFX Script stuff to the Java world. And yeah, that was no fun. But they did a good job. And like I said already, it's not part of the Java SE distribution. Since Java 11, it's even not be delivered anymore. So most of these frameworks are still in use, except maybe AWT. I don't know any application that is still using it, but it would be possible. And the question is JavaFX dead? Because that's what people ask me all the time, because I do a lot of JavaFX. So when people approach me, they said, oh, so what's going on? It's not part of the JDK anymore, because everybody thought it was part. And Oracle dropped it. First they hyped it as hell, and then suddenly they said, that's it. So JavaFX, it didn't appear anymore, and now it's even not delivered with the JDK anymore. So let me answer it like this. It's an open source project. It's since a couple of weeks it's running on GitHub already. So it was Mercurial, now it's on GitHub. It's on OpenJFX.io. You can find more information about it. It's more or less driven by the community. It can run on mobile devices using Gluon technology, which is also Java. And it can also run on the web, that I can show you later on, using JPro technology. It's actively developed, and it's getting new features too. So it's not really that it's dead. It's just not in the main focus anymore, right? So it's really rare to find sessions about JavaFX on conferences, so that leads to the impression it's not used or whatever. Okay, so then where does Java on desktop suck? Because there are really some points where it sucks hard. It's, first of all, there is a lack of third-party control still. If we came from Swing, we had a lot of third-party libraries. There was a whole business behind that. And yeah, in the JavaFX world, this is unfortunately not the case. Some companies that had Swing libraries started porting them to JavaFX and then stopped and never delivered them. And so it's, yeah, that's really a big drawback. And there are also missing features. So if you ever worked with a JavaFX table view, it simply sucks. That's the only thing I can say. So if you know the Swing table view, then yeah, it could have been better. Unfortunately, it's not. And it seems nobody picks it up and creates a real good table view. So that's something that's also missing. Mobile, yeah, I said it's possible. And even though the Gluon guys, they really do a good job in making it possible to create Java applications on mobile, it's really not on par with native stuff. It might be on par with the web stuff. It depends on the application, that's for sure. UI design tools, yeah, for JavaFX we just have Scene Builder, that's all we have. And even this is not really ready for production in my eyes. But many people use it because it's the only tool we have. And there was a handful for Swing and also SWT, which was better because you had a choice. Now, if you would like to use a UI builder, you have to use Scene Builder, which is, yeah, that's not really nice. But at least it works. Yeah, and this is a big one, is the lack of Oracle support. This is not really true because some of the main committers in JavaFX still work for Oracle. But it feels like Oracle has no interest in Java desktop technology anymore. At least not, yeah, JavaFX desktop, I should say, because they have Swing applications still internally. But with Swing, it's a different story because Swing is part of the JDK. So it's still there and it will be used. So JavaFX is not, so they can just drop it. And there are no internal applications, as far as I know, inside of Oracle, so they don't need it, right? So that feels like they don't care. I just know that a couple of Oracle people still commit to JavaFX and take care about it. Look and feel. Yeah, who did the look and feel in Swing? Did somebody in the room did it? Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. It really is. And in JavaFX, it's also not easy. And don't get me started with SWT. This is, yeah, There is nothing like really a look and feel. It's all, you have to do everything on your own, drawing the stuff, it's terrible. And in JavaFX, yeah, if you would like to create a native looking Mac OS X app, this is not possible, right out of the box. You can do it, but then you have to create all the controls and the fancy stuff that Apple does. And this is not easy because they really do a good job at Apple in creating really great controls. The Android stuff is more easy with the material design. This is very easy to transform into a JavaFX application, but if you go to Apple, the iOS stuff is really hard to do. Then there's still no OpenGL or DirectX access. This is not really, yeah, it's still true, but this is also not that important to many of the business application developers because you don't really need OpenGL or DirectX, except you have something like a 3D viewer for CAD files or something like that. Then you would like to need, or you would like to have OpenGL or DirectX access, but we don't have yet. And the community, again, is working on solutions for that, and we have 2 approaches already that works. But at the moment, there is no support for these technologies. Well, then this is general for fat lines. They tend to be quite heavyweight in terms of memory and CPU, but I just say Electron. I don't have to say anything else, right? So this is, yeah, if you see what this takes in memory and CPU, it's, yeah, but it's a fat line, so that's fair. This is more, that's not really related to Java only, but yeah, this is, it might be a drawback. If you discuss with people coming with web application, they always say, fat lines, they are so big, need so much memory and all that. So yeah, that's true. This is only for Windows users, but yeah, it requires often admin rights to install, which is a drawback in big companies because they don't want to go around, and if you have hundreds of desktop applications to install or update, then it's also a hassle, which is a drawback for Java Desktop. Costs. Most JavaScript frameworks are for free, right? So you just download them and that's it, and you can use it. If you would like to go mobile or on the web with JavaFX, you have to pay. And yeah, what should I say? I mean, it's fair. There are people that are spending really some time and money to create these frameworks, and why won't you pay for that? I mean, this is, we are just used to get everything for free, but yeah, this is a personal thing. So I switched to buying software after I finished my studies. Before that, I copied everything. And then it's like, okay, now I have the money, I can pay for it, right? So, and I think companies should think in the same way. You get support, and I think it's a good thing to pay for software. Updates. Oh, yeah, this is a nice one. If you create a desktop application, and that's an interesting discussion because this is always, if you talk to people when it comes to Java Desktop, they say, that's so bad. Updating the software, there's not really something that works. There was this web start thing, never really took off. And so how should we do that? Then if you ask yourself, how does everybody else do it? They just use installers, right? Or use Apple app stores or something like that. It works. So every native app comes with the possibility to update these days. This is not really magic, but when it comes to Java, everybody's complaining. It's not possible, it's not possible. Yes, it is, because we can build native apps with Java, so you can use the same mechanism that you can use for any other native app. So this not only belongs to Java in general, this would also be for any other desktop application that you use. There are mechanisms to do that, but because people have been used to web start, they are now complaining that it would be so hard to really update a Java application, because in the former days you have to make sure that you have the right JDK on your machine and all these things. So these days this is not that hard anymore, because you can bundle your JDK with the application most of the times. So this is a no-brainer, but okay, it's a bad thing. And the same goes for deployment, which was also done via WebStart for Java Desktop. And that's the same now as with every native application. You can just use a native installer and do it, right? It's the same for, I don't know, If you build an Electron app, how do you deploy the Electron app to the desktop? Same thing, right? Either download it somewhere, or you put it in an app store and download it, and then that takes care about the deployment. So this is not really an argument, but this is what I face to very often in discussions, that people say, yeah, deployment and update is really a hassle. Then you ask them why, and then they say, well, web start was so nice. And they say, oh, okay, not really, but okay. And then this is one point, this is really true. It's really hard to find good UI developers for Java desktop apps. If you look for front-end development or front-end developers, then the most people you find, they are good in whatever hyped script framework is up to date these days. Then if you ask for, oh, can you do Swing or JavaFX? What? No, never heard of it. I thought it's dead, right? So this is, so it's really hard to find good UI developers in that field, which is the biggest drawback most of the times. Okay, that have been the bad parts, but it has also some positive sides. Let's shortly go to this ones. So it's one platform that runs on Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, embedded, and even web. And that's awesome, I think. So it makes things really easy to develop, and it just works. I mean, 90% of the functionality comes with the core libraries, so that, and all the rest you can find on the web, because I think there's not one environment outside of the Java world that has so many libraries on the internet. So if you have an idea or you need something, you just check the web and you will probably find something, at least one or a couple of solutions that will solve your problem. Then I said it's hard to do a look and feel. That's true, but it's easy with JavaFX because it comes with CSS. It's easy to style applications. So that means we do a lot of front-end desktop stuff for customer projects. And it's always like, oh, you know, we have this is our CI color, it's blue, and the buttons look like this, and can we have the text in that color? Yes, you can. And it's not really hard. In Swing times, that was really hard, because in Swing you had to rewrite the whole application to do that. And in JavaFX, it's more or less, if you are smart enough, then it's really just exchanging a CSS file. And the application will look different. And that's really nice. This is what many people don't really see or don't know, I don't know. But it's really easy to do that. You have customized windows. Some people need that, but to be honest, I really didn't see that for a long time. In the former days, there have been some media players that had done irregular shapes for the windows. This is not possible in the browser, but it's possible with a native application in general, so and also with a Java desktop application. So the application could be a circle, if you like it, the window, right? This is no problem. It's really good for doing complex applications, like handling large data for visualization. There Java is really nice. So, and I will show you some examples later on. And there is a reason for that they choose Java. You stay on the same platform, right? Means you have Java on the server, on the client. You have the same frameworks, you have the same IDE, testing tools, deployment, everything is the same. I mean, I worked in a project where we had a Java server side and then a web application. And that was the first web application that I did, and I was really shocked how many new things just for this web stuff came in. And it's a totally different stack, right? That is, if you are not used to that, if you just stay in the Java world, this is really easy. And if you, whatever web stuff you add, if you are not used to the web things, it's really a lot more that comes to these things. So I really think this is a big advantage when doing desktop applications. Yeah, reuse code in libraries, I said that already. So you can really use the same stuff. Let's say you would like to write an application that uses some messaging technology, so you can use the same libraries on the server side and on the client side, and that makes things just easier. It's, yeah, what should I say? So it's just good to reuse the code. Even your own code can be used on both platforms. even on mobile, then you can use the same stuff. We have concurrency, it's built in the in the JVM. So multi-threading and concurrency, they are really well supported, which is a big advantage. Not always easy doing it in web applications, for example. You can do native access. Does someone ever did JNI or JNA? This is great, right? I mean, it works kind of, but it's not really that easy. And we are hoping for Project Panama in the future to make things easier. So, but it's possible, at least, right? So you can really go down to the metal with Java. A drag and drop. We can use we can use drag and drop between Windows and desktop and file system easily because that's built in, which I don't know. I think it also works now in web applications, right? So you can do that, but in the beginning it was not possible. But here it's just no problem to use it, it's just there. Network programming, okay, that also works in other frameworks, but it's always good to mention it. It's always there. And with Java 11 we also have an HTML client and all these things in the JDK, so you don't need additional libraries to do that, which is also quite nice. WebSockets are supported and all these things. Internationalization, never did it in a web application, but on the desktop side in Java, this is really easy to do. I guess it's the same on web. I don't know. Do you? Yes, this is, but it's not always easy in other languages. So in Java, that's quite nice to do it. Offline, yeah, it's a desktop application. Offline is the standard, and online is just additional sugar, right? So but offline, you can always run your stuff offline. It's hardware accelerated. That's also true for web applications, but it depends what you do. So sometimes one platform is better than the other, but it's possible to do to visualize really large amounts of data with Java desktop applications. And this is the reason why it's used in research and science apps a lot. So that's also an advantage. It can run on mobile. Did someone ever use it here? I don't think so. The DevOps app, yeah, I will show some demos. I also created some stuff, so it's possible and it's surprisingly good. So it's you don't think that you can run a Java application on an iPhone, for example, with an acceptable speed, but yes, that's possible. Even 3D support and all that is possible, and it's hardware accelerated, and you can deploy it to the App Store, but I will come to that later. It also runs on web, so there's a company called JPro, and they do a quite interesting approach. So what they do is they run JavaFX on the server side, and they split the rendering, transform it to SVG, and then send that to the browser. So the rendering is done in the browser, and the rest is done on the server side. It sounds weird, but it runs really well. So I was really surprised when I saw it. And when you go to the website, I will show you a link, then the whole website is programmed in JavaFX. So that was interesting to see because I didn't know that. It has stable APIs, and the same code can run for years. And this is really a big advantage because the application lifecycle is with Java desktop apps totally different than it is with web applications. And we can see it, for example, like this. So if we take web frameworks, then usually it's like that, right? So it's 1 to 3 years. We have all these new frameworks coming up where Java desktop app, sorry, it's more like this. So we have a life cycle within a decade, maybe, sometimes. So let's go to the typical environments of Java desktop. So insurance companies use it, banks, the industry, scientific institutes, the military, trading companies, aviation, space and defense, medical companies, and automotive. And as you can guess, these are not the companies that you see in, let's say, how to say that? Usually these companies don't show these applications on conferences, especially not military, space and defense, aviation, automotive. You will never see applications from them at conferences. So that leads to the impression, well, I just see web everywhere, means the rest doesn't exist anymore. And this is just not true, because when I give you this is just a little overview, who's using it, then you might recognize some names on that list. They are not so small companies, especially on the left side, when you will see there's Airbus, Audi, Emirates Airlines, NASA, BMW, CERN, Volkswagen. They all use Java desktop application internally, some of them heavily. So there's one example which is worth mentioning. It's Volkswagen, because a couple of years ago, I think it's 4 years ago, at Java 1, a guy approached me and said, well, Gerard, yeah, I know you. I read your blog, and yeah, great stuff. So maybe you would like to come to my session. And I said, well, yeah, sure. So what is it? Yeah, I'm from Volkswagen, and I will show media center stuff that we do in JavaFX. And I was like, what? For cars? Yep. So I went there, and this guy showed us really fancy stuff that is running in cars, in the media displays. Nobody knows that it's JavaFX. And he told us that in all Volkswagen cars, since I don't know how many years, all the media displays running Java. They just don't use Swing or AWT. They use their own OpenGL layer to render it. But the whole stuff that you know, and Volkswagen is just not Volkswagen. It's the biggest automotive company in the world. So they also own, as far as I know, they own Seat, Audi, Porsche. That's all, and all the media displays running Java. That was, for me, a big surprise, and nobody knew that before. Even Oracle, the guys were totally struck. What, they use it? Oh, we didn't know, right? Then Zeiss, for example. I gave a session at a conference. It was some kind of a tutorial, and then some guy was sitting in the audience, and it seemed he knew everything already, and I was surprised. And then I approached him and I asked him, so how do you know all that stuff? Well, we use that. I said, so where do you come from? Yeah, I'm working for Zeiss. I said, oh. So what is Zeiss doing with JavaFX? Well, yeah, we use it on the microscopes. And I told him, so why don't you talk about that? And he said, well, for our customers, they don't care about the technology. It just has to work. So why should we talk about that? So we can just switch to other technologies, but they just use JavaFX. And all these are examples where you really see these industries are not really the ones that you see on fancy talks at conferences. And that leads to the impression, okay, nobody uses Java on desktop, but these companies use that a lot. So, and with some of them, we have projects for years. So it's really interesting that if you talk to people and then they approach you like, yeah, Java on desktop is dead. And then you say, no, it's not. We have projects in this industry, and it works. So it's still, many people request us to do stuff for them, right? And there are more. This is just the stuff I knew. So that means Java on desktop is dead. Not yet, right? So at least that's, to my knowledge. The question is, why is it not taken into account, really? And this is something I was asking myself all the time. And when I came to companies, when we talked with the technical guys, then I found something that I name hype-driven development. That is really like they have a problem they would like to solve. The first thing they do, they decide about the technology that they use. So that means, oh, we need a new product, so what should we do? Well, let's take Angular 11, but it's not even in beta yet. We don't care, we just use it. Okay, great. So let's solve the problem. And they don't even discuss the technology. So that's really interesting. And I saw that quite often when we talk to people, and for them it was given that they use the latest and greatest web stack. Even if it's not officially released yet, they just jump on the train and do it. So I was really surprised when I saw that. So I think it should be more requirements-driven development, like, first of all, try to understand the problem that you have. Then you choose the right technology. And if web is worth using it, then use web. And if it's desktop, then use desktop. And it doesn't have to be even Java. It could whatever desktop technology, but it makes sense, right? So there's a reason why we have all these desktop applications still because it seems the web doesn't really work for that kind of stuff. And then you solve the problem, hopefully. And what you can use for that, that might help you with this, is a so-called questionnaire matrix, which looks like this, for example. I just put it up. You try to split the application in specific topics, and then you have something like a range, like very important, important, not that important, unimportant, and then you can make crosses what applies, and then you can give it points from -4 to 4 in this example. And in the end, you can then just sum it up, and then it will tell you, okay, is a desktop application better, or is a web application better, or whatever. This is just an example. It's really not real. I just put it up. It might not be easy to find these questions for you, but in the end, you see stuff like, has it complex 2D graphics or 3D graphics? Should it be run offline? Is a mobile client needed or not? Stuff like that. And then think about this whole thing before you choose the technology. And that would at least be my advice when it comes to starting a new project. Well, and so let me show you some examples of Java desktop applications. For example, this is also something that Zeiss uses. And because JavaFX is nice in doing UIs, it's not so nice in doing, for example, 3D stuff. If you really need OpenGL or stuff like that, then Swing was better. So what they do, the frame is JavaFX, and internally these things, this is Swing. So they just combine it, right? Which is possible. So, and it's good. Then we have Mint, which is a training system for pilots that is used in the European Union. It's also based on JavaFX. It doesn't look fancy, but that's not the point, right? Then we have, that you might heard about that, this Deep Space Trajectory Explorer from NASA that is used to calculate the trajectories of satellites, and the whole thing is done in JavaFX. So this is just one screen because the application is quite complex, as you can imagine, but these guys worked on that for years and they use it in production. And then we have, this is something I'm working on. Not really my beloved project, but it's to organize containers on vessels and give the company the possibility to plan ships when they come into their harbors. Then we have Airbus. They use it for 3D wing analytics. So that means this is JavaFX 3D. So they get the data out of their supercomputers and then they do the analyzation in the JavaFX desktop application. And then there is this is just a customer relation management system from Switzerland. I don't really know a lot about that because I just got the screenshot from a guy. This is used in GSI heavy ion beam research in Germany. They use it mainly because of the graphic capabilities. So they analyze the ion beam when it accelerates and then do all kinds of analysis on this stuff. Oh, and that was just last week in San Francisco. Someone used my library to monitor the 1060 Pi cluster. And yeah, that was quite fun. So that was also a desktop application. Then we have mobile. This is stuff that I found from Gluon. So these are all mobile applications written in JavaFX. And it's interesting to see because just from the view, you can't say if it's Java or if it's native, some of this stuff, or if it's an Android application or whatever. So you see, you can do 3D. It has all these gestures and things. And yeah, on the right side, this is again my library. I just use that because I will also use it in the demo. We have a map view and stuff like that. We have this game. You might know it. And this game is also available in the App Store, in the Google Play Store. So, and it's a JavaFX application that you can just install on your phone. And it's if you play it, you don't really feel if it's JavaFX or if it's native, right? To run JavaFX on a mobile device, you need some stuff from Gluon, mainly an IDE plugin for one of the IDEs. And then you start a new Gluon project, and that's it. and then you are good to go, and then you can compile it. And it reminded me yesterday in the Flutter talk a little bit on that, because what they do is you have the main shared code that is for the whole application. If you start that, it's a desktop application. Then if you compile it down for, let's say, for an Android device, it will be the desktop code running on an Android device. If you need something special for Android, let's say you need a different UI, you put all the UI code that is for Android in the Android folder. You can put desktop stuff in the desktop, embed it, and so on. So, for example, if you have a specific CSS file for iOS, then you put it here, for Android there, and then you can compile it in one step. And then you get a native Android application, a native iOS application, an embedded stuff that runs on a Raspberry Pi, for example, or ARM devices, and a desktop application. So if we go to web, this is just because this is my dashboard that I use at home. This is JavaFX running in the browser. So there's the URL is even there. I should hide it, but now it's in the video. So it's possible, and I will show you how to do it. There's another application for a company in the UK. They use JavaFX in the browser for calculating contracts related to energy devices, like monitors and that kind of stuff. There are some screenshots of that one. So in the requirements for JPro, for example, you just need a Gradle task or a Maven dependency to do it. That's all. So that means you don't have to do any modification to your code. You can really just add this Maven stuff, Gradle stuff, or that Maven stuff, and then you run the task. There is a task JPro, and then it can create. It can run on the server, for example, right? Which is quite interesting. And this is because I told you they run JavaFX on the browser, on the server, and then split at the rendering level, and then transform it to SVG, and so you have SVG, which is hardware accelerated in the browser, which is quite nice. Yes.
How do you deploy that application JPro on the web? Does it spit out a WAR file or just a jar?
No, what you do is I run it on my own server, so I just started on the server side. That's all.
If you were going to deploy it now into production?
Oh, that's a good question. I never did that because I just use that for playing around with that stuff. You need it's just to show what's possible. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to use it really in production, but I know someone, the guy who did it for the UK thing, they somehow should deploy it. But I don't know how they do it. But
probably
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you can, yeah, wait, you can, that's true. You can create an application. There's a Gradle task to do that. But I never used that because I just started from Gradle on my machine. But yes, there is something that builds like a self-contained app. You can just start then, yeah, and deploy. So let me show you when I run it. First of all, I hope I can run it because I'm running on OS 10 Catalina. It doesn't really like me. Oh, it works. That's good. It's a little bit slow. So this is really live from my office. And that's now the desktop application. So let's go and start JPro run. And now I start the web application. Takes a couple of seconds to start it. All right, here we go. And then I go to local host. There it is. And there's the same thing running in the browser. And it's, okay, I have more. Oh, I hate IntelliJ for that. This is really terrible. That's what I would like to see, this one. So we have the native app, and we have a web app. And the interesting part is that you see they are in sync. And if I switch on the light at home, which might be a bad idea at that time, but it's okay. I switch it on here, and you see that it's directly also in the browser. And if I switch it off in the browser, then it will go off there. It also has touch support, so I can, for example, press one icon, then it will show me the graph and all that. So, and the same thing I can run on my mobile phone. And because we have a quite good internet connection here, I can start it here. And then you see I have the dashboard on my phone. If I switch it on here, we should see, you see it goes on everywhere, which is, and it detects if I rotate it, it detects the rotation and all that. I can push it here and it will open the stuff. So it has all these support that you have. In principle, this is a standard JavaFX application just running in the browser. It doesn't come with all the features yet, because what we miss is the canvas node, which is a specific node in JavaFX. But they are working on that, and I saw a running prototype already. And then at Java 1, there was a good question, what about the web view? Because JavaFX has a web view. And how will you use a web view in the web, right? Well, they found a way to do that. They just use the native the browser, so you can do it, so it will work. So, for example, you could put in Google Maps here in the JavaFX application, and it will work. They have a specific key where you can detect if the application runs on the web or if it runs on the desktop. So if it detects it runs on the web, then you can exchange the usual web view with this specific view for the browser. So, but it's possible to use JavaFX in the browser, and I think this is, it's not too bad. I mean, it resizes and all that. It's not that very snappy, but at least it's possible. And for some applications, it might be nice. Not for everything, but that's the reason why I choose a dashboard, because that was the main idea. It's very often that you have applications, let's say in a bank or an insurance company, and then it's like, it's a form application. You have to type in all the data and all that stuff. But then there are the managers, and they say, oh, I would like to see a dashboard that I can show in a management meeting on my iPad, right? Because it's fancy. You can do. With JPro, you can just create a special, let's say, application just for the dashboard, and then this guy can just open the stuff on his iPad and show the same, and it's the same code. You just test it on your desktop machine or on your test server or wherever, and it will work. And this is Catalina, so don't care about this. All right. So that means we saw, I don't have a running demo on my device I have one, but it's not there yet, because what they do at Gluon these days, they use GraalVM to create really native applications. So it's not bundled with the JVM anymore, but it's a binary image that runs on the device, and that means the applications get much more smaller than if you bundle the whole JDK with it. But I have not a running demo. So in the end, if you take it into account, you as the developers, then it won't die, hopefully. And with this, I say thanks, and I hope I don't know what time do we have? Do we still have time? Yeah, okay. So if there are any questions, then I'm trying to answer them. If not, feel free to leave. Thanks for attending.
When you say table controls, do you mean like grid controls?
Excel sheet-like things, yeah. So we are always asked for, can we get Excel in our application, right? So no, you can't.
Everything I do is that.
Yeah, so that's what mainly insurance companies and these guys, they use Excel a lot. And then when they hear that we create a software for them, they ask, oh, can we have that? And they say, part of, but not really. I mean, Excel is like, you can do everything. So no, there's no possibility. You can create table views, and they work, but it starts with that. You would like to have a fixed column or something like this. In JavaFX, this is terrible. You can do, but it's not fun. And so, yeah, that's really, the table view is really not that nice in JavaFX. That's what I mean with table view control.
But it's coming soon, right?
Don't know. I will never do one. Yeah, you can create one.
Do you know if JPro supports swing node yet?
I don't think so. And to be honest, the swing node really sucks. It's yeah, what they do, at least that's how far I know, they render the swing content in bitmaps and then split them on the screen. which is, you can imagine, not very performant. So I tried to use my own Swing library in a JavaFX application, and it's really slow. If you have animated pointers and needles, then it's really like, it's not fun. The rendering is not good. And there was a better approach. We had two guys, Roman Kenke and another one. They did something in the beginning of JavaFX, and they did it on their own, and that was much better and faster than the Swing node that we now have. Unfortunately, they never continued with this project.
Is that Mario?
Yes, Mario Torah, exactly. I don't know. I did a demo at a conference these days about that, and I showed it was a Swing application, and it was a JavaFX application, and then Swing inside of JavaFX using their trick, and it was really fast, so you couldn't tell the difference. But the Swing node that was implemented by Oracle, it's really not that nice. So if you rely on Swing node, then unfortunately, I think it won't run on JPro. But all the rest should work, so it's at least they're working on that. It's a small company, but I like the idea. I mean, it's for specific use cases, it's great. Not for everything, so I don't want to run a huge desktop application in the browser, but parts of it, why not? Like dashboards or charts or something, yeah, then that's absolutely possible. Okay, anything else? No? Good, then enjoy the rest of the day.